All right, so yeah, we like to go deep on stuff here, and you guys already know a good bit about the Enneagram, right?
Yeah.
So have you ever thought about like using it to kind of like decode historical figures?
Yeah, that's a fascinating way to look at it.
It's like having this like secret decoder ring,
Mm-hmm.
you know, to understand their motivations and stuff.
For sure.
So today we're gonna use that lens to look at Buenaventura Durruti.
Okay.
He was like this major figure in Spanish anarchism
Yeah.
and prime example of a social eight in action.
Oh, yeah, he's a really interesting guy.
This guy is like, I mean, we're talking bank robberies, leading worker uprisings,
Yeah.
facing down fascism in the Spanish Civil War.
I mean, just the bank robberies alone.
Yeah, okay, so bank robberies, let's
Yeah.
unpack that for a second.
Okay.
Not exactly your typical image of a protector, right?
Right.
Like Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, you don't usually associate bank robberies with the protector type.
Right.
But if we look closer, it's classic social eight, you know? It's all about like robbing the banks to fund the revolution, redistributing the wealth,
Yeah.
empowering the oppressed.
So it's like a direct challenge to the system,
Exactly.
that capitalist system.
To him, it's inherently unjust.
Yeah.
You know, it's not about personal gain.
Right.
It's about righting the wrongs of the system
Yeah.
that was rigged against the people.
So that social eight drive to protect, it's not just about physical safety.
No.
It's about dismantling the systems
Yes.
that create inequality and vulnerability.
That's it.
I mean, Durruti's childhood, this is what fueled this whole fire.
Oh, for sure.
Growing up in poverty,
Yeah.
witnessing injustice firsthand.
It's all there.
He said, and I quote, "From my earliest years, I saw suffering. Why should I stop fighting against these social injustices now that I'm aware of them?"
Wow. Powerful stuff.
Yeah, and it wasn't just talk for this guy.
No, he walked the walk.
This guy was a key leader
Definitely.
in the Spanish anarchist movement.
Yeah.
But we're not just talking about fiery speeches, right?
No.
Like yelling on a soapbox.
He could definitely deliver those.
Okay, so he had that in him.
Oh, yeah, he could bring the fire.
But what set him apart was how he translated that passion into action.
Exactly.
Mobilizing workers,
Yeah.
organizing strikes,
Yep.
playing a major role in the Spanish Revolution.
It's that doer energy.
Yeah.
You know, that social eight's got.
It's like he wasn't content to just theorize about change.
Right.
He was out there making it happen.
He was a man of action.
So he's this powerful figure driven by this deep sense of justice.
Yeah.
But, you know, social eight can also have this reputation for being a little,
Strong personality.
yeah, let's just say a strong personality.
Yeah, they can be a little intense.
So how did that play out for Durruti?
Well, I think a good way to think about it is Claudio Naranjo,
Right.
who's like a, key figure in Enneagram studies, describes the social eight as someone who, quote, seeks to stand with the oppressed, placing their justifiable anger in the service of justice.
So this aggression wasn't random or personal.
Not at all.
It was laser focused
Yes.
on dismantling oppressive structures
Exactly.
and protecting the vulnerable.
Yes.
Okay, so how did that justifiable anger like actually manifest itself?
Well,
Because we're not just talking about stern lectures here.
no. Think about his role in the Spanish Civil War.
Okay.
This wasn't about violence for its own sake.
Right.
It was about defending the revolution,
Okay.
defending the gains that had been made against fascism.
Yeah.
His actions, they were driven by this fierce need
Okay.
to safeguard the progress towards a more just society.
It's almost like a parent protecting their child,
Yes,
but on a societal scale.
that's a good way to put it.
And his words seem to carry that same intensity.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. His speeches, they blended this fiery vengeance with a vision of liberation.
Wow.
And it was that powerful combination
Okay.
that ignited the masses,
Yeah.
inspired them to rise up against oppression.
It's like he was speaking right to their hearts.
And remember, social eights, they're not just about brute force.
Oh.
They can be incredibly charismatic and inspiring,
Yeah.
drawing people to their cause through sheer force of personality.
Okay, so we've got this image of Durruti
Yeah.
as this bold, defiant figure.
Yes.
He's constantly challenging authority,
It's like he just couldn't help himself.
whether it was organizing strikes or resisting military conscription or straight up robbing banks.
He was a thorn in the side of the establishment.
It's almost like he was on this one-man mission
Right.
to dismantle every hierarchy he came across.
And that's classic social eight.
Yeah.
Their mission is to level the playing field,
Yeah.
to expose and dismantle the systems that create and perpetuate injustice,
They're not afraid to put themselves on the line to achieve that goal.
even if it means risking their own safety.
I'm starting to get a sense of like what it would have been like to be in a room with this guy.
I know, right?
Must have been pretty intense.
From everything I've read, his presence was undeniably powerful.
Yeah.
Inspiring to some, intimidating to others.
Right.
But you know that potent energy?
Yeah.
That's a hallmark of the social eight.
Okay.
And Durruti wielded it masterfully.
Yeah.
Both as a leader and a revolutionary.
Okay, so we've talked about his actions. We've talked about his fiery speeches,
Right.
his unwavering dedication to justice.
Yeah.
But was there a softer side to this guy?
Well,
This seemingly tough-as-nails revolutionary?
there was. And this is something that's often misunderstood about social eights.
Okay.
Beneath that strong exterior,
Yeah.
they're deeply capable of forming incredibly strong bonds of friendship and solidarity,
Okay.
especially with those who share their values and
Yeah.
their fight for a more just world.
So not just a lone wolf revolutionary, but someone who also understood the power of collective action
Exactly.
and genuine connection.
Yes, those relationships, they were forged in the fires of shared struggle.
It's powerful.
Think about his connections with fellow workers and anarchists.
Yeah.
These weren't superficial alliances.
Okay.
They were deep, meaningful bonds built on a foundation of shared values
Yeah.
and a common vision for a more just and equitable society.
It's fascinating how much depth there is to the social eight.
Right.
They're not just about anger and aggression.
No.
It's about channeling those powerful emotions into something constructive.
Yes.
Something that uplifts and protects the vulnerable.
And I think that's a really important point. It's
Yeah.
important to remember that for Durruti, his aggression,
Okay.
his willingness to fight,
Yeah.
it was always purposeful.
Okay.
It was never about senseless violence,
Right.
but about protecting those who couldn't protect themselves
Right.
and ensuring that the progress towards a more just world wasn't lost.
So he was a fighter,
Yes,
but he was also a protector.
exactly.
I like that.
I think that duality is at the heart of the social eight.
Yeah.
They may appear intimidating,
Okay.
even confrontational at times.
Right.
But their ultimate goal is to create a world where everyone can feel safe,
Yeah.
secure, and empowered.
Okay, so we've established Durruti is this fascinating case study of the social eight in action.
For sure.
But what about that challenger aspect of this type?
Oh, yeah.
How did that manifest in his life?
That's where things get really interesting. Durruti wasn't just, challenging authority out on the streets or the battlefields or whatever.
Right.
He challenged, the very foundations of power itself.
Okay, I'm all ears. Tell me more about this.
So think about, his stance on anarchism.
Okay.
It's not just a political ideology.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a fundamental rejection of all unjust hierarchies.
Yeah.
He wasn't interested in just, reforming the existing power structures.
Okay.
He wanted to, dismantle them entirely and build a society based on cooperation,
Okay.
equality, and mutual respect.
So that's pretty radical.
It is.
But wouldn't that require a complete overhaul of, well, pretty much everything?
That's exactly what he was aiming for.
Wow.
He saw the state, the church capitalism, all these systems
Yeah.
as inherently oppressive.
Okay.
And he believed that true liberation could only come from their, abolition.
So he was not afraid to articulate that vision,
Oh, no, no, no.
to challenge those in power directly,
He was fearless,
even if it put him at odds with,
even with other anarchists.
more moderate factions.
Yes, even within the movement itself.
So not just a fighter, not just a protector,
Right.
but a visionary as well.
Absolutely.
But how did he actually put these anarchist principles into practice?
Wow.
Because it's one thing to talk about, dismantling hierarchies,
Mm-hmm.
but it's another thing to actually do it.
Right. So during the Spanish Revolution,
Okay.
Durruti and his comrades, they actually established this network of worker-controlled collectives
Okay.
in parts of Spain.
Okay. Interesting.
And these were communities where decisions were made democratically,
Mhm.
resources were shared,
Yeah.
and the traditional power structures were, for a time at least, effectively dissolved.
Wait, so they actually created these mini anarchist societies?
They did. It was a bold experiment.
That's incredible, but how did they work in practice?
Well, Like any revolution,
Yeah.
it faced immense challenges.
Right.
There were internal disagreements,
Yeah.
external threats,
Yep.
and the constant pressure of trying to build a new world
Right.
amidst the chaos of war.
Of course.
But for a brief period, these collectives offered a glimpse
Okay.
of what a society based on anarchist principles might actually look like in action.
It's almost like those collectives were like a microcosm
Yeah.
of the social eight's desire
Right.
to create this just and equitable world.
Exactly.
A world where everyone has a voice.
Yes.
And everyone has the opportunity to thrive.
That's a great parallel.
Yeah.
And you can see that same impulse in Durruti's personal life as well.
Okay, how so?
He was known for his generosity,
Okay.
his willingness to share what little he had with those in need,
Yeah.
and his deep compassion for the suffering of others.
It's amazing how those social eight qualities can play out in so many different spheres of a person's life,
It's true.
from the political to the personal.
And I think that's something that's often missed when people try to reduce the Enneagram to simplistic stereotypes.
Right.
Each type is a complex tapestry of strengths and challenges,
Yeah.
motivations and desires.
Okay, so we've explored Durruti as the fighter, the protector, the visionary.
Right.
But there's also this intellectual side
Yes.
to the social eight right,
Absolutely.
a drive to understand the systems and structures
Yeah.
that create injustice in the first place.
And this is where the comparison with Karl Marx, another figure who embodies the social eight archetype,
Okay.
becomes particularly illuminating.
Oh, interesting. Marx, the father of communism, a social eight.
Yeah. I mean, think about it.
I can see the connection with the whole dismantling hierarchies thing.
Right.
But how else does he fit the mold?
Well, remember that quote from Durruti?
Yeah.
Why couldn't we eat the bread we needed if our father worked so hard? The answer was social injustice.
Yeah. Powerful stuff.
That same outrage at inequality,
Right.
that same burning desire to understand the root causes of suffering,
Yeah.
that fueled Marx's entire intellectual project.
So both driven by a deep-seated sense of right and wrong,
Yes,
but expressing it in very different ways.
exactly. Durruti, the man of action, took to the streets, organized, and the workers fought for a better world here and now.
Yeah.
Marx, on the other hand, retreated to the library, immersed himself in history, philosophy, economics,
Right.
trying to deconstruct the systems that he believed were responsible for so much human misery.
It's fascinating how two individuals with the same core Enneagram type can take such different paths.
It is, and their approaches to achieving justice were also strikingly different.
Okay.
Durruti believed in direct action,
Yeah.
revolution,
Right.
the power of the people to seize control of their own destiny.
Right.
Marx, on the other hand, focused on long-term historical analysis,
Right.
believing that the inherent contradictions of capitalism would ultimately lead to its own demise
Right.
and the rise of a communist utopia.
It almost feels like two sides of the same coin, doesn't it?
Exactly.
Mm.
And I think understanding those differences can help us appreciate the nuances of the social eight.
Yeah.
It's not just about aggression or dominance. It's
Yeah.
about channeling those powerful energies in a way that aligns with one's skills,
Yeah. Mhm.
temperament, and
Right.
understanding of the world.
Okay, so we've got Durruti, the revolutionary, the man of action.
Right.
We've got Marx, the intellectual, the theorist.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, what about the social eight's legacy in the world of politics?
Oh, yeah.
It seems like a type that would thrive in that arena.
Absolutely. And I think we have a perfect example of that in our next deep dive.
Okay, so we've seen the social eight as like the revolutionary
Yeah.
and as a scholar.
Right.
But now we're stepping onto the world stage
Right.
where power plays are like a whole different game.
Right. And who better to represent that than Golda Meir,
Okay.
Israel's first female prime minister?
Yeah, I remember reading about her.
Yeah.
Didn't she have a pretty tough upbringing herself?
Oh, absolutely. Born in Ukraine, immigrated to the U.S. as a child,
Oh, well.
then chose to move to Palestine to help build a Jewish state.
So she wasn't just handed power.
No.
She, like, earned it.
She earned it through sheer force of will
Okay.
and unwavering dedication.
Sounds like that social aid drive we've been talking about.
Exactly.
Except in her case, it was about protecting an entire nation.
Right. Think about what Claudio Naranjo said about social aids.
Yeah.
They seek to stand with the oppressed, placing their justifiable anger in the service of justice.
Right.
For Meir, that translated to safeguarding Israel's security. Right.
Advocating for its interests on the world stage
Yeah.
and ensuring its survival against all odds.
So her protectiveness was like fierce.
Oh,
and
yeah.
on a massive scale.
It
But
was.
how did that actually, like, play out in her leadership?
Well, she was known for her directness,
Okay.
her decisiveness,
Yeah.
and her willingness to take unpopular stances if she believed they were necessary for Israel's safety.
So give me an example.
Well, her handling of the Yom Kippur War was incredibly controversial,
Right.
but she never wavered in her belief that she was acting in the best interests of her people.
It's like that social eighth strength
Yeah.
isn't just about physical power.
No.
It's about mental toughness,
It is.
conviction,
Yes.
the ability to make those hard calls
Right.
and stand by them,
Yeah.
even when the pressure is immense.
That's a key insight. And remember, social eights, they're deeply principled.
Yeah.
For Mir, that meant a steadfast commitment to her nation,
Okay.
a sense of responsibility that drove her every decision. It wasn't about personal ambition.
Oh, no.
It was about using her power to protect
Right.
and uplift her people.
And it wasn't just about military defense either.
Okay, what else?
She was also focused on building a thriving society within Israel.
Oh, interesting. So how did that manifest?
Well, she championed social programs,
Okay.
economic development,
Yeah.
and the integration of immigrants.
So this wasn't just about survival.
Yeah.
It was about building a just
Yes.
and equitable society.
Yeah, exactly. A goal that aligns perfectly with that social eight drive for collective well-being.
So she's this tough, decisive leader,
Yeah.
fiercely protective of her nation,
Right.
but also focused on creating a better life for her people.
Yeah.
It's interesting how those seemingly contrasting qualities
Right.
can coexist within the social eight.
Right. And I think that's what makes them such compelling leaders.
Yeah.
They possess this unique blend of strength and compassion,
Okay.
assertiveness and empathy.
Yeah.
They're not afraid to fight for what they believe in,
Right.
but they're also deeply invested in the well-being of those they protect.
We talked about Durruti, the revolutionary,
Yeah.
Marx the intellectual,
Right.
and now we have Mir, the stateswoman.
Three very different expressions of the same core type.
Yeah, it really makes you think about the range
Right.
and depth of the social eight.
It's a powerful reminder that the Enneagram isn't about putting people in boxes.
Yeah.
It's about understanding the underlying motivations
Yeah.
and dynamics that shape our behavior.
And it's also about recognizing that leadership can take many forms.
Exactly.
It's not just about charisma or dominance. It's
Right.
about using your strengths, whatever those may be, to make a positive impact on the world.
Well said. And I think both Durruti and Mir,
Yeah.
despite their vastly different approaches, exemplified that principle.
Yeah.
They were both leaders who, in their own unique ways, challenged the status quo,
Yeah.
fought for what they believed in,
Yep.
and left an indelible mark on history.
So for our listener who's already familiar with the Enneagram,
Right.
what's the key takeaway from looking at these historical figures through that lens?
I think it's about seeing beyond the stereotypes,
Okay.
understanding the complexity of each type.
Yeah.
Social eights in particular are often misunderstood,
Right.
but as we've seen, they're not just about anger or aggression.
Right.
It's about channeling those powerful energies into something constructive,
Yeah.
something that protects,
Uh-huh.
uplifts,
Yeah.
and ultimately creates a more just and equitable world.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's about understanding the nuances,
Yeah.
the motivations beneath the surface,
Right.
and seeing how those core drives can play out in a multitude of ways.
Exactly. And I think it's a valuable lesson for anyone, regardless of their Enneagram type.
Right.
We all have our own unique strengths and challenges,
Yeah.
our own ways of navigating the world.
Right.
And by understanding those deeper patterns,
Okay.
we can become more effective leaders.
Yeah.
More compassionate friends.
Yeah.
And more engaged citizens.
Well said. It's been a fascinating deep dive, hasn't it?
It has.
From the streets of revolutionary Spain to the halls of power in Israel, we've seen how the social eight archetype can manifest in truly remarkable ways.
All right.
And hopefully our listener has gained some new insights into this often misunderstood
Yeah.
but incredibly powerful type.
I agree. And as always, the journey of self-discovery doesn't end here.
Right.
We encourage you to keep exploring the Enneagram,
Yeah.
to delve deeper into your own type,
Yeah.
and to appreciate the rich tapestry of human personality that it reveals.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Until next time.